Chosen one, you just demonstrated how extremely strong you are in the face of adversity, and karmics are shocked by your resilience. They poured every ounce of their malice into destroying you, yet their attacks boomeranged with triple the force. Now they are left to endure the consequences of their own malice, realizing too late that they picked a fight with the wrong power. This wasn't some random attack. This wasn't just bad vibes or negative energy floating your way. This was calculated. This was planned. This was orchestrated with precision and malice. They studied you for a long time. They watched how you move. They learned your patterns. They identified what they thought were your weak spots, your triggers, your insecurities, your fears. They built a blueprint of your psychology. And then they weaponized every single detail. Someone close to you was feeding them information. Think about that. Someone you trusted, someone in your circle, someone who had access to your private thoughts and vulnerable moments, was reporting back, telling them when you were stressed, telling them when you were doubting yourself, telling them when you were going through hard times. This person played the role of friend while secretly handing your enemies the ammunition to destroy you. And you know what? You already know who this is. That feeling you've been getting about someone, that subtle sense that something's off, that intuition telling you to create distance. You were right. Trust that. They broke the bank trying to take you down. We're talking serious investment here. They paid people. They performed rituals. They bought supplies. They devoted time and energy and resources that most people would use to build their own lives. But they were so obsessed with destroying yours that they sacrificed everything. It's like someone going to the bar, getting drunk on power and rage, buying rounds for everyone, screaming about how they're going to ruin you, and then waking up the next morning realizing they can't pay rent because they spent it all on their vendetta. They went too far, and now they're suffering the consequences. Here's what they targeted specifically: your sleep first. Because when you can't rest, everything falls apart. Your health declines, your judgment gets cloudy, your emotional resilience weakens. They sent energy to disrupt your peace at night, to fill your mind with anxiety, to keep you tossing and turning. They wanted you exhausted, depleted, running on empty, because tired people make mistakes, tired people give up easier, tired people can be manipulated. But you still found ways to rest. You still discovered peace in the chaos. Your spirit still recharged even when they were trying to drain it. That wasn't luck. That was your soul refusing to surrender. Then they attacked your heart, your sense of connection, your feeling of being supported and loved. They wanted you drowning in loneliness. They wanted you looking around and seeing emptiness everywhere, convinced that nobody cared, nobody understood, nobody had your back. They know that isolation is one of the most effective weapons. When you feel alone, when you believe you're fighting by yourself, it becomes easier to give up, to wave the white flag, to accept defeat. But you never fully bought into that loneliness. Even in your darkest moments, you held on to hope. Even when you couldn't see it, you believed there was light somewhere. That faith, that stubborn refusal to accept the lie of abandonment, kept you anchored. While all of this was happening, something else was happening that couldn't be seen. You were healing, not just surface-level healing, deep cellular healing, generational healing, the kind of healing that rewrites your energetic DNA. Every time an attack was sent, you were simultaneously doing inner work. Every night sleep disturbance was attempted, you were simultaneously clearing old patterns. Every moment isolation was pushed on you, you were simultaneously building a stronger relationship with yourself. Yesterday's version of you was being fought, but someone completely new was being born. Your heart space was transforming into something untouchable. You were learning to parent your inner child, to give yourself the love and validation and safety you needed. Wounds were being repaired that weren't even known about. Wounds from childhood, wounds from past relationships, wounds from previous experiences, and every healed wound closed a door attempting to be entered. Every integrated shadow removed a hook attempting to be used. You were becoming untouchable in real time, and no idea existed that this was happening. There's a spiritual law that was forgotten about, a law that supersedes all magic and manipulation. You attract what you vibrate. Energy seeks its own level. What you put out comes back, and destruction was being put out. Chaos, harm, malice, all of that energy was building up like a storm cloud, getting heavier, getting darker, getting ready to burst. Power was assumed, control was assumed, a stronger will than universal law was assumed. But you can't cheat karma, you can't outsmart divine justice, and that lesson was about to be learned the hard way. Meanwhile, you were vibrating at a completely different frequency. You were choosing love when hate was chosen against you. You were choosing faith when fear was projected onto you. You were choosing to heal when harm was being orchestrated, and that frequency difference created a barrier between you and the attacks. Like trying to tune a radio to a station that doesn't exist. Broadcasts were happening on a wavelength you weren't receiving anymore. Signals were hitting dead air, and that's when things started to fall apart for those attacking you. Something shifted. You could feel it even if you didn't understand it. Their attacks started landing differently, or not landing at all. Things they sent your way just seemed to dissolve before reaching you. Situations that should have devastated you turned into minor inconveniences. Bills that should have destroyed you financially somehow got resolved. People who should have betrayed you suddenly showed their true colors before they could do any damage. It was like you had invisible protection, like the universe itself was running interference. And you were right. That's exactly what was happening. Your healing work activated something. Call it divine protection, call it angelic assistance, call it your higher self taking the wheel. Whatever language makes sense to you, the result was the same. You became shielded, not because you asked for it, not because you performed some special ritual or spell, but because you raised your vibration so high that lower vibrational attacks couldn't reach you anymore. You climbed to a frequency where their weapons don't work, where their magic has no power, where their manipulation hits an invisible wall and bounces back. If these words stirred your consciousness, hype this video to help more chosen ones awaken to this. They noticed it too. You could tell by how their energy changed. At first they were confident, cocky even. They knew their plan would work because it always had before. But then confusion set in, then frustration, then panic. They started trying harder, throwing more at you, using techniques that should guarantee results. But nothing was working. It was like watching someone try to light a fire in the rain. They could strike the match all day long, but the conditions weren't right. The environment had changed, you had changed, and their tools were useless against the new you. This is when they made their biggest mistake. Instead of backing off and reassessing, they doubled down. They invested even more. They pushed even harder. They went all in on a strategy that was already failing, because their ego wouldn't let them admit defeat. Their pride wouldn't let them accept that maybe, just maybe, you were stronger than they calculated, so they kept attacking, kept cursing, kept manipulating, and every single attack they sent out was adding to the karmic debt they were accumulating. Every ounce of energy they spent was draining their own reserves. They were destroying themselves, and they couldn't even see it happening. Then it happened. The moment everything flipped, the exact moment when all that negative energy they'd been sending out reached critical mass and exploded back onto them. You might have felt it, a sudden lightness, a sudden sense of freedom, like a weight you didn't even know you were carrying, just lifted off your shoulders. That was the moment their entire operation collapsed. That was the moment justice arrived. That was the moment the universe said enough and reversed the flow. Someone woke up that morning and everything was wrong. Their health was failing, their money was gone, their relationships were falling apart, their reputation was damaged. Everything they tried to do to you was now happening to them, but multiplied, amplified. Because karma doesn't just return what you send, it returns it with interest. They wanted you sick, now they're sick. They wanted you broke, now they're broke. They wanted you isolated, now they're isolated. They wanted you hopeless, now they're drowning in despair. Poetic justice doesn't even begin to describe it. You didn't even have to do anything. You didn't curse them back. You didn't plot revenge. You didn't send attacks their way. You just kept healing. You just kept growing. You just kept choosing faith and peace and love. And that choice, that simple, consistent choice to stay in your power instead of dropping to their level, triggered the reversal. That activated divine intervention. Because the universe protects those who protect their own peace. The divine defends those who refuse to become what hurt them. You stayed in your light, so the light fought for you. They're panicking now, truly panicking. Someone is frantically doing protection spells, cleaning their space, calling on entities, trying to stop the bleeding, but it's too late. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. You can't undo karmic law. What's done is done. The energy they sent out has found its way home, and now they have to sit in it. They have to experience every ounce of pain they tried to inflict on you. They have to feel every moment of suffering they tried to create in your life, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. They're trapped in a hell of their own making. While you're free, thriving, glowing, protected, blessed, look, you already know the attacks weren't random, and if you're paying attention, you can feel it. Their walls are closing in. So let's talk about what we're doing about it. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve cooperative intelligence. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and your subconscious is rewired while your enemies collapse under the weight of their own lies. This is why I created it in the beginning, so everything they did to break you becomes fuel for your purpose. The collective upgrade is underway. Start your Destiny Engine for $1 today and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. Now let me tell you why this happened. Why you specifically were able to withstand what destroyed others. It comes down to one thing: your healing work. The inner work you've been doing when nobody was watching. The shadow integration. The inner child repair. The boundary setting. The self-love. The forgiveness. The release. Every single moment you chose to look at your pain instead of running from it. Every single time you chose to feel your feelings instead of numbing them. Every single instance where you chose growth over comfort. All of that work built something inside you. You became whole, not perfect. Whole, there's a difference. Perfect means no flaws. Whole means all your pieces are integrated. Your light and your shadow, your strength and your vulnerability, your confidence and your humility. You stopped abandoning parts of yourself. You stopped rejecting the pieces you thought were unlovable. You gathered all of yourself up, every fragment, every broken bit, every messy, complicated human part, and you loved it all. You accepted it all. You integrated it all. And when you did that, you became unbreakable. Because here's what wasn't understood. You can't curse someone who's already faced their own darkness and made peace with it. You can't manipulate someone who knows themselves completely. You can't exploit insecurities in someone who's already healed their shame. You can't trigger someone who's already processed their trauma. The attacks needed wounds to enter, cracks to slip through, pain to amplify. But you'd already healed those places. You'd already sealed those cracks. You'd already transformed that pain into wisdom. So when the energy came at you, it had nowhere to land. It just bounced off and went right back to the sender. Your empathy became your superpower. Not just empathy for others, but empathy for yourself. You learned to treat yourself with the same kindness you show other people. You learned to speak to yourself the way you'd speak to someone you love. You learn to give yourself grace when you mess up, to give yourself rest when you're tired, to give yourself love when you're hurting. And that self-compassion created an unshakable foundation. Because when you truly love yourself, when you truly know your worth, other people's opinions can't destroy you. Other people's attacks can't define you. Other people's energy can't control you. You're sovereign, you're free, you're untouchable, and your heart stayed open. This is crucial. Despite everything you went through, despite all the attacks, despite all the betrayal, you didn't close off. You didn't build walls around your heart. You didn't become bitter or cynical or cold. You stayed soft. You stayed open. You stayed loving, not because you're naive, but because you're strong enough to remain vulnerable, because you know that an open heart connected to Source is the most powerful thing in the universe, because you understand that love isn't weakness, love is the ultimate power, and you wield it like a weapon of light that cuts through all darkness. Here's what shocked them most: your reaction, or lack of reaction. Drama was expected, public falling apart was expected, tears and breakdowns and desperate phone calls were expected. Trawling back, asking what you did wrong was expected. Cryptic messages on social media were expected. Lashing out in anger or collapsing in defeat was expected. A whole script was written in minds about how this would play out, and you didn't follow any of it. Instead, you went quiet, you went inward, you focused on yourself, you worked on your healing, you built your life, you created beauty, you pursued your goals, you laughed with people you love, you made plans for your future. You acted like someone who knew exactly where you were going, and nothing could stop you. And that calm confidence absolutely destroyed the mental peace of those watching, because calm is contagious. Your peace radiated out and highlighted chaos. Your stability exposed instability. Your groundedness revealed desperation. Checking on you kept happening, through mutual people, through social media, through whatever access points existed, looking for signs that attacks were working, looking for evidence of suffering, looking for proof of struggling. Tied, and every time checking occurred, you looked better, you looked happier, you looked more at peace, you looked like someone who was thriving. And each time this was seen, it drove further into madness, because how is it possible? How can someone be under spiritual attack and look like they're glowing? How can someone be cursed and look blessed? How can someone be targeted and look protected? The answer is simple, but can't be comprehended by those attacking. You were actually doing well. This wasn't a performance. This wasn't faking strength. This was real peace, real joy, real stability, because you'd built your life on a foundation that couldn't be seen. A foundation of self-love, of inner work, of spiritual connection, of faith that runs deeper than magic could reach. The surface was being attacked while you were rooted in something eternal. The persona was being fought while you were anchored in your true self. No chance ever existed. Doors began opening. Opportunities you weren't even looking for started appearing. People you needed to meet crossed your path at exactly the right time. Resources you required manifested out of nowhere. Connections clicked into place like pieces of a puzzle you didn't know you were solving. This wasn't random. This wasn't luck. This was the universe responding to your frequency. This was divine compensation for what you endured. This was heaven making sure you didn't just survive, you thrived. Money started flowing differently, not necessarily in huge amounts all at once, but in consistent, unexpected ways. A refund you forgot about, an opportunity that paid more than expected, a gift from someone at the perfect time, a side income that suddenly picked up, resources appearing right when you needed them. This is how abundance works when you're operating in alignment. It doesn't always look like you thought it would, but it shows up exactly when and how you need it, and it keeps showing up because you're vibrating at a frequency that attracts it. Your health improved. Maybe you'd been dealing with mysterious symptoms that doctors couldn't explain. Maybe you felt exhausted for no apparent reason. Maybe headaches or body aches or digestive issues seemed to come out of nowhere. And suddenly they started clearing up. Your energy returned, your vitality increased, your body started functioning properly again. because when spiritual attacks stop landing, when negative energy stops hitting your field, your physical body can finally heal. The stress lifts, the tension releases, the system recalibrates. You return to your natural state of wellness, your mental clarity sharpened, the fog lifted, the confusion cleared, the doubt dissolved. You started seeing situations with perfect discernment. You could read energy instantly. You could feel when something was off before your mind could explain why. You could sense opportunities disguised as obstacles. You could recognize blessings wrapped in unusual packaging. Your intuition became so sharp it was almost uncomfortable, because now you couldn't ignore what you were sensing. You couldn't unsee what was being revealed. You couldn't unhear what spirit was telling you. Trusting it and acting on it became necessary. Your relationships transformed too. Fake people started falling away, not through drama or confrontation. They just naturally faded out, stopped calling, stopped reaching out, moved on to other targets, and you didn't chase them. You let them go with grace and gratitude for the lesson they taught you. Meanwhile, authentic people started appearing. People who saw you clearly, people who appreciated you genuinely, people who added to your life instead of draining from it, people who celebrated your wins instead of secretly envying them. The quality of your connections upgraded because the quality of your energy upgraded. The right people were watching, not the people who wanted to see you fail, not the gossipers who loved drama, not the ones who were secretly hoping the attacks would work, but the divine witnesses, the ones who recognize real strength when they see it, the ones who understand what it takes to stand firm under pressure, the ones who've been where you are and made it through. Those people saw everything. They saw how you handled yourself with grace. They saw how you refused to become bitter. They saw how you chose growth over grievance. They saw how you turned pain into power, and they took note. Because when you demonstrate that level of maturity, that level of spiritual fortitude, that level of unwavering faith, you attract a different caliber of people into your life. You attract other strong people, other healed people, other purpose-driven people, other protected people, the ones who can match your energy and walk beside you without trying to drain you or compete with you or bring you down. Your ancestors were watching too, the ones who prayed for someone in the bloodline to break generational curses, the ones who hoped for someone to rise above the patterns that kept your family stuck, the ones who dreamed of someone being brave enough to heal what they couldn't heal in their lifetime. You became that person. You became the answer to their prayers. You became the breakthrough they were waiting for, and they're celebrating you right now in the unseen realm. They're protecting you. They're guiding you. They're making sure the path ahead opens up for you in ways you can't even imagine yet. The divine was watching too, seeing if you'd stay true to yourself under pressure, seeing if your faith was real or just something you claimed when life was easy, seeing if you'd maintain your integrity when no one would know if you didn't, seeing if you'd keep choosing love when hate would be justified. And you passed every test. You proved your character. You demonstrated your worthiness. Not worthiness to receive love, you always had that, but worthiness to carry the blessings that are coming, worthiness to hold the power that's being downloaded to you, worthiness to steward the purpose that's activating in your life. This is why the attack failed, because you weren't alone. You had an army of support in the spiritual realm. You had angels assigned to your protection. You had ancestors clearing the path. You had the divine orchestrating circumstances in your favor. Your enemies were fighting against you, but they were really fighting against heaven. And nobody wins that battle. Nobody defeats divine will. Nobody overcomes a plan that was written before time began. They thought they were powerful, but they just learned the difference between human magic and divine intervention. Here's how karma did the math on this situation. They sent out destruction, so destruction came back, but not in equal measure, multiplied, because the universe doesn't just balance the scales, it overcompensates when someone attacks a person under divine protection. It's like interest accruing on a debt. The longer they kept attacking, the more the karmic debt grew. Every curse they sent added to the total, every manipulation increased the balance, every attack accumulated consequences, and when the bill came due, it came all at once, with interest, with penalties, with the full weight of universal law behind it. They broke cosmic laws they didn't even know existed. There are spiritual principles that govern how energy moves, how intention manifests, how cause creates effect, and when you violate those laws, there are consequences. They thought they could just attack anyone without repercussion. They thought their magic was powerful enough to override divine order. They thought their will could supersede universal justice, but you can't cheat the system. You can't hack karma. You can't manipulate your way out of spiritual law. And they just got a very expensive education in why you don't come for people who walk with heaven's favor. The timing of their collapse wasn't random either. It happened right when you reached a certain level of healing, right when you cleared a specific layer of old pain, right when you integrated a particular shadow. That wasn't coincidence, that was divine coordination. The universe waited until you were strong enough to witness their fall without feeling guilty, until you were healed enough to see their suffering without taking it on as your responsibility, until you were clear enough to recognize it as justice and not revenge. The timing was perfect, because divine timing always is. Your blessing is directly connected to their lesson. The doors opening for you are the same doors closing for them. The opportunities coming to you are the opportunities leaving them. The connections finding you are the connections avoiding them. It's not that you took anything from them. It's that the universe redistributed energy according to who was operating in alignment and who wasn't. You were planting seeds, they were planting weeds. Now harvest time has come, and everyone is reaping exactly what they sowed. No more, no less, just perfect karmic balance. You mastered something most people never learn. You separated your peace from your circumstances. Most people let external situations dictate their internal state. When things are good, they feel good. When things are bad, they feel bad. They're completely at the mercy of whatever's happening around them. But you broke that pattern. You found peace in the middle of chaos. You maintained joy while under attack. You held on to faith when circumstances said give up. That's mastery. That's true spiritual power. You stopped giving your power away through reaction. Every time you react emotionally to someone's attack, you're giving them your energy. You're letting them control your state. You're allowing them to dictate how you feel. But you learn to observe without absorbing, to witness without internalizing, to see what was happening without making it mean something about your worth. You watched their attacks like you were watching a movie, interested but not identified, aware but not affected, present but not participating. And that detachment is what kept you sovereign. You practiced radical responsibility for your own healing. You didn't wait for apologies. You didn't need others to change. You didn't require external validation that you were right and they were wrong. You just decided you were going to heal regardless. You were going to choose peace regardless. You were going to move forward regardless. You took full ownership of your emotional state, your spiritual well-being, your mental health, your energetic boundaries. Nobody else could do that work for you, and you didn't expect them to. You became your own healer, your own protector, your own source of love, and that self-sufficiency made you untouchable. You embraced the dark night of the soul instead of running from it. There were moments when you felt completely alone, when you questioned everything, when you wondered if you were crazy for believing in something you couldn't see, when the darkness felt overwhelming and the light seemed impossibly far away. But you sat in that darkness, you let yourself feel it fully. You didn't numb it or avoid it or spiritually bypass it. You went through it, and on the other side you found something they can never take from you, your own light. The light that doesn't depend on external circumstances, the light that burns from within, regardless of what's happening around you. You stopped explaining yourself. You used to feel the need to justify your choices, defend your decisions, prove your worth to people who questioned you. But somewhere in this journey, you realized that people who are meant to understand you will understand you. And people who aren't meant to get it never will, no matter how much you explain. So you stopped wasting energy on justification. You just lived your truth and let it speak for itself. That shift alone probably confused them more than anything else. You started saying no without guilt, to requests that drained you, to people who only called when they needed something, to opportunities that didn't align with your path, to obligations that were really just distractions, to relationships that took more than they gave. You protected your energy like the sacred resource it is. You treated your time like the non-renewable asset it is. You valued your peace more than being liked. And every boundary you set strengthened your foundation. Every no to what wasn't right made space for what was. You let people misunderstand you without correcting them. Someone spread lies about you, and you didn't scramble to set the record straight. Someone misinterpreted your actions, and you didn't rush to explain. Someone judged you without knowing the full story, and you didn't demand they see the truth. You understood that your reputation is not your responsibility, your character is. And people who need to know the truth will be shown the truth in divine timing. You don't have to defend yourself when heaven is your defense attorney. You don't have to fight for your name when the universe is protecting your legacy. You started moving in silence. You stopped announcing your plans before they happened. You stopped sharing your dreams with people who didn't have the vision to support them. You stopped updating everyone on your progress. You just quietly built your life, quietly worked on your goals, quietly transformed yourself. And when people saw the results, they were shocked, because they had no idea what you were working on behind the scenes. They had no clue how much you were changing. They couldn't attack what they couldn't see. They couldn't block what they didn't know about. Your privacy became your protection. You're not who you were when this started. That version of you is gone, dissolved, transformed completely. You shed an entire identity during this process, the identity of someone who could be manipulated, the identity of someone who needed external validation, the identity of someone who feared abandonment more than valued authenticity, the identity of someone who would shrink to make others comfortable. All of that burned away in the fire of this experience. And what emerged is someone unrecognizable to those who think they know you, someone with no power held over you, someone untouchable. You became someone who knows worth is inherent, not earned, not proven, not validated by others, just existing as a fundamental truth. Nobody needs to see your value for it to be real. Nobody needs to acknowledge your gifts for them to be potent. Nobody needs to believe in you for you to be powerful. You know who you are at a cellular level, and that knowing is unshakable, unchallengeable, undeniable. Others can think whatever they want about you. It doesn't change the truth of who you are. You became someone who leads with love but maintains fierce boundaries. You're not choosing between being soft or being strong. You're both simultaneously. You can be compassionate without being a doormat. You can be kind without being weak. You can be forgiving without being foolish. You can hold space for people's humanity while still protecting your peace. That's the integration of the divine feminine and divine masculine within you. That's the marriage of mercy and power. That's what it looks like to be whole. You became someone who trusts the unseen more than the visible. Learning happened that what you can see with physical eyes is only a fraction of what's real. Trusting your intuition over logic, trusting your feelings over facts, trusting divine timing over human urgency, trusting the process even when the outcome can't be seen. That trust in the invisible is what gives you access to miracles, to magic, to manifestations that seem impossible to people who only believe in what can be measured and quantified. The battle is over. You won, not by fighting, but by being so completely yourself that nothing could shake you, by standing so firmly in your truth that nothing could move you, by loving yourself so deeply that nothing could break you. This is your victory. This is your testimony. This is your proof that when you do the inner work, when you heal the wounds, when you choose faith over fear, you become untouchable, you become unstoppable, you become exactly what your enemies feared you would become. a force of nature, a walking miracle, a living testimony to the power of choosing light in the face of darkness. Everything was thrown at you, and you're still standing. Not just standing, you're rising higher than ever before, glowing brighter than ever before, living more powerfully than ever before, living more powerfully than ever before. That's what happens when you face adversity and refuse to become what hurt you. That's what happens when you walk through spiritual warfare with your heart open and your faith intact. That's what happens when you're a chosen one who finally understands just how strong you really are. Welcome to the next level. Welcome to the life you've been preparing for. Welcome to the reality where you're untouchable, unstoppable, and absolutely protected by forces beyond comprehension. You did that. You earned that. Now step fully into it and watch what happens